Oh, nutcrackers. Hello and welcome to the Now Debate. I've got to get this up on screen so you can see us both. There we go. Hello, welcome to the Now Debate. I'm Jared Walters, here with my good and esteemed colleague once again, Mr. Richard Oliver. Richard, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Excellent. I'm hoping that we can all be heard on this now. Richard, if you could speak for me, please, because I've had no indication of my speaking.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Excellent. We're sorry, we had a bit of an issue there setting things up. So, I don't know about anyone else, but if you are sensitive at the moment to energy, to spirit, to clairvoyance, to that sort of thing, then a lot of people that I am coming into contact at the moment are literally feeling absolutely knackered, feeling as if they're having a battering, feeling as if they're in the midst of a battle at the moment, and a bit of a struggle in making sense of things. So I just wanted to give a quick update. So if you are sort of sensitive to these energies and this sort of side of life, that you're not alone. There's a lot of this at the moment. There's a lot of upheaval happening now, but there's also a lot of upheaval yet to come. And that's the sort of messages I've been getting from the other side. And I needed to get that off my chest before we start tonight's topic, which is basically a discussion for the new guys amongst you who may be watching our channel for the first time, which is a bit of a background into mine and Richard's journey and all the different things that we've encountered when we've come into contact with the paranormal over the course of the years. That's led us to this point in 2020 of just, as they would say, bullshittery. Richard, have you
many times you've just done it.
Well, it's not if we're earning out of it anyway. This may also be this may also be the first episode of the Now Debate that we're going to try and podcast. I'm actually looking into podcasting at the moment. Anyone who offer any tips or advice, please do so in the comment section below. Richard, what about you, my friend? Have you got any updates? I noticed you put a video out last night on Shane Dawson and the things that's happening around there. Is there anything you wanted to give or any updates that's been happening around you that you want to pass on to the audience today?
Yeah, well, my daughter brought it to my attention about three odd days back, and I was pretty shocked about it, to be honest with you, because some of the stuff that's been coming out, I mean, is pretty dramatic. And you know, being him, Jeffree Star, being some of the biggest YouTubers that is, I mean, it's pretty mad. And he's been making a film about the demon in his house. He has shown videos for years about being haunted, and he's been doing videos about some sort of little girl's spirit, and he's got videos of his place being trashed and different things he's been putting out over the years. So yeah, it's it warranted talking about, because if you look at what's going on with him on YouTube at the minute, it does suggest that there's something. I mean, it's pretty neck. I mean, it's pretty damning. I mean, if you're gonna have that mindset, then in our world, if you have a negative mindset, you're going to attract negativity. I mean, it's just sort of common sense in the spiritual world. And if he has been putting this sort of content out, then he's more than likely, I'm going to say like 99% attracted something negative. And it's looking that way. And it's all coming crashing down. It's pretty crazy. There's people putting videos up and taking them down and apologizing. So I don't know. I mean, it's, you know, with this sort of social media, there's a lot of hearsay. But I've seen the videos with my own eyes. On some of the videos, and I've seen his talk on the radio where he was talking about a subject in such a blasé way. And even the person who was interviewing him said, I'm going to have to stop this because I don't like it. It was that, you know, overstepping that line so much that the person didn't even want to do it to sort of like damage him. You could tell, what he was saying was damaging. So, that's quite a big story at the moment from the YouTube side of things. There's loads going on at the moment. There's loads. There's been videos coming out of like leaked footage of UFOs, and NASA's been filming things coming past the Earth and coming up from the Earth, and orbs. I mean, there's so much going on at the moment. I think we're a hair's breadth away from disclosure, full disclosure.
Why did you say that?
Well, because the stuff that's happened in 2020, right? There's things that's happened this year that I've got no. Even myself, like I'm gonna that can't happen, and it's happened. So when it comes to 2020, it is you could be watching this now and an alien just pop out of my chest. I mean, that's how crazy 2020 is, right?
It has been one hell of a year.
It's just been absolutely, you couldn't make it up. There's so much going on YouTube with like QAnon and all these things with these people who've got tags on their legs, these celebrities, and Boris Johnson now is blaming care homes for the death toll. I can you believe that? The front of that man.
Yeah, hubris.
I just can't. And he's refusing to take it back. Like, he's refusing to take that statement back, and he is blaming them. It's just, you just can't make it. It's just like the powers that be at the moment, the ones that aren't being targeted by like Trump and different things, right? I've just got so much front. It's like they give two hoots about what they say. I think it's almost like they must feel a little bit untouchable. Like, anything they do, they can just skim over it, because Boris Johnson is literally, he is a skipping stone. He skipped through this COVID-19. He's made so many mistakes and said so many things. It was herd immunity. That was his plan before we went into lockdown. He stated it on the 3rd of January that if a pandemic like COVID broke out, then herd immunity is the way forward, otherwise the economy's knackered. That was his plan before it happened. And if you look at the way it's happened, it's been his plan ever since.
Yeah, I definitely think
he's just used different beats.
And, you've got things like Oxford University now saying that they are finding traces of a virus very similar to COVID-19 in the ground, basically, right, from in different places around the world. So they're even officially now in academia saying it may not have come from China, even though the initial sort of mass outbreak was in China. That it may actually not have come from China. You've got the over 200 scientists sending a letter to the WHO saying that they believe there's enough evidence to suggest that it's airborne. You've got bloody swine flu and bubonic plague now breaking out in China. Although there's a lot of media kind of headlines about that. They're saying a level 3 warning basically means no hunting, and there's literally 2 people infected, and some of the newspapers are very much jumping on the kind of media bandwagon with regards to that at the moment, because that happens as well. So they are.
Well, stories sell. The problem is stories sell, right? And this is the problem with this technology today. It is so dangerous, and for younger people especially, but for just, if you're looking to inform yourself beyond the narrative of the media, the actual news, then you're gonna face a storm. You're gonna face something where people now can put such good sort of evidence-based alternatives to what we're being told, that you end up, and you sort of get, the truth gets lost in it all. The truth just gets swamped by what can we say that sounds better than this is the reason.
Yeah.
And you just end up in a pickle.
Well, that's the thing. I think you've got and this is, I think, is one of the conclusions I've come to. I wanted to take tonight's session for a lot of our newer viewers, because we've taken on quite a lot of subscribers over the last couple of weeks and months. So I wanted to kind of get into this and sort of talk a bit about our paranormal journey over the course of the last 7 years since we've been doing it together, but also sort of individually. So I wanted to have a bit of a discussion today about the different things that we've learned, what's kind of happened, how we've actually trudged this, because this is, I suppose, the paranormal being such a contentious issue, such an issue where there is a sort of a Joe Blogs line of understanding, sort of your Hollywood movies, your most haunted, and then your sort of deeper, more sort of esoteric sort of understanding of the paranormal. That a lot of the times I've noticed on this channel, we will go into the deeper stuff and not really relay the story for like the average person that's sort of maybe going on this journey or starting for the first time. There's a lot of that coming up at the moment, and we've noticed that with some of the people that have been contacting us. So I just wanted us to have an opportunity for maybe like an hour to just sort of discuss, like, for you personally, as so if I ask you a question and you ask me a question or whatever, we'll have a discussion. Just talk about sort of where we started from and where we've been led to throughout the course of the last 7 years mainly, but also within our lives as well, because both of us started out with having child, as you've explained, because you've told your story on this channel. I'm going to be telling my story in the coming days. I think that's something I need to do. But both of us started through sort of the psychic mediumistic route, because we both had spiritual and paranormal experiences since very, very young ages, and which have ultimately sort of led us down this sort of path. So like for someone that sort of has a interest maybe in the paranormal, from like say the likes of Most Haunted, how do you get from Most Haunted to where we are, Rich?
Well, as much as I loved back in the day Most Haunted, for being a bit of a sort of pioneer in that sense of the way they filmed. They didn't just talk about the paranormal and stories through history. They investigated it. But for me, I think my journey was more looking for answers. Yeah. Personally, because I was going through my own stuff and I wanted to know, I wanted to see it for myself. I wanted to because I'd been seeing this stuff as an individual on my own, doing work and everything else, and I wanted to capture it. I wanted to show people. Because it's very hard when you witness something to get anyone to believe it, really. That's the hardest part of the paranormal. Yeah. Without evidence, right?
That was the same for me.
Yeah, you can have the most profound experience, but it's hearsay when you're just telling a story. And then I didn't, that was my thinking behind it. And when I started Paranormal Wales, it became so much more than just trying to catch a video of a ghost or EVP of a ghost. It became a journey into everything. History of the way the world, because most spiritual people and most people who are, it depends. I feel like I was awake at a very young age. Where the things in the world I saw I could not physically grasp them mentally. I couldn't understand them. I couldn't understand the need of them, the necessity of them, things like war and homeless people and cruelty and different things. I just couldn't understand the concept of them. You're born into a world and it's a miracle. the fact that we exist, the fact that anybody watching this just exists in a universe that is infinite is such a big deal. It'd take you a lifetime to understand it. It is incredible that you are a human being and you are conscious. And I think it took me on such a journey that I tell you the truth, I didn't expect. And it opened up my eyes to so much in the world. And then it sort of became this. We kind of, we met Jazz from, from me.
For me,
and
me having activity in my house. I know we met on the conference you put on initially in 2012 as a recruitment drive, but we didn't really connect until it was the first case that we did, the first house investigation that we did.
Yeah.
And that was my first experience of actually investigating the paranormal with a team, being part of a team, being part of an understanding of the process, what to look for, what not to look for. Like, for me, it started with the media. Oh, we seem to have lost Richard. Oh, there we go. For me...
I'm back, I think, buddy.
Yeah, for me, it started on... So, for me, it started on the mediumistic route, on the mediumistic side of things. I basically have seen spirit from a young age. And whereas I was quite oblivious, really, for the first 25 to 30 years of my life, up until about 2009, I was quite oblivious to a lot of this stuff, really, and it didn't start to sort of kick in and become stimulated within me until, I would say, between 2009 to 2011. It wasn't until like the beginning of 2012 where I really started to take it sort of seriously as I was beginning this journey. And I remember talking to a friend that I used to live with back in 2011, 2010, that time, and him saying that he'd settled down, he'd had a wife, I think he had a baby on the way at the time, and he said, wow, it's mad, my life worked out exactly as I wanted it to. And I'm like, really? I think it's mad because my life worked out nothing like I expected it to. The things that I have experienced, the things that I have seen in the last 8-9 years of my life, if I went back to that person back in 2011 and said, right, this is the journey you're about to go on, I would have laughed in my own face.
Yeah.
Because it was so unbelievable.
Yeah. It is. That's what I mean. I mean, when we started, we started wanting to put it out there on YouTube, which we didn't. We did have a little go when I had Paranormal Wales, but we wanted to take that a little bit further. And if you think about the consequences of wanting to take that further, when we did the Now Investigations live.
Yeah.
With the ghost box sessions and how much of an impact that had on our lives. And how long, that's been years. That's not just been like a couple of months, that's been years.
It's still ongoing. We have unpacked maybe 20% of everything that we were told during that process. So for those of you guys who don't know about the Now Investigations Live, and we have explained it quite a few times, but I'll give you a little bit of a brief history. This is basically it in a nutshell. We got together because I started having activity in my house. There's a lot of stuff I can't go into for personal reasons, but it basically was I saw a being in my doorway that was not human. My partner seen another one in the room, and we had a conversation with these beings, and they started showing all these different things. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, my house became incredibly haunted, and a lot of negative things were happening, of which you helped me through. Not long after that, I was working as a medium, as my own sort of business. That kind of dissolved about a year and a half later. And the group you were a part of that year also sort of dissolved, and we started Paranormal Now. So I started to join you on house investigations, helping people, which we still do when lockdown's not happening, helping people who have paranormal activity in their home. When I get a lot of stuff from dreams. My journey comes from the kind of inciting incident of my journey was the death of my brother Jonathan back in 1999. And the times that I've seen him in dreams, I've seen his full apparition like a ghost. I've had conversations with him. When I do readings, he works as kind of a guide, like a guardian angel, and I suppose would be a way of sort of putting it. And so these experiences started to happen, and you kind of gradually took me through the process of how to investigate the paranormal, how to do it properly, how to have respect for spirit, how to look things over. And it was weird because I was getting, guidance from you and other people, because I've had other mentors along the way, and getting guidance from Jonathan on the other side as well. I had a dream in 2017 where we were all sat in this very room, which I'm sitting in now, and we were doing experiments with the ghost boxes. A ghost box is a device that provides an audio source which spirit can manipulate to give a message. And boy, didn't we get some bloody messages. We had things from the Second Coming, ufology, we had things with politics, ancient history, religion, the Bible, different sort of religious texts, all about, there's stuff about Mars in there. There was an old sort
UFO
of
locations as well, Jazz.
Yeah, UFO cases that we would only investigate now. There's references to the Penturk incident in there, which we are going to put up on the channel later on. The Mandela effect, and what was happening is was this coming from spirit? That's still hotly being debated. Was it coming from our own psyches, our own subconsciousness in some way? That's still being debated. There's so many different things, and it's threw open a bird's nest of questions. And there's normally two groups. There's either spirit, which normally is my brother coming through, but sometimes it can be other spirit as well. And there's also a group of, whether they're extraterrestrials or ascended masters, known as the Council of 12, which you have had contact with, that have come through and given these message. These Council of 12 say they do not originate from Earth or this planet. You have described on many occasions the different experiences that you have had with these beings, through meditation whilst you were in the church, and intermittently throughout the last few years. We have probably uncovered maybe, I would say, a good 20% now. What I found, and this actually took me to a point of having a nervous breakdown at one point, was back in 2018 as a result in part of a case we were working on which had an historic curse. It worked as a catalyst which affected kind of you massively, but also affected every one of us on the investigation. And we, after it was massive upheaval around us personally for about 6 to 8 months. In that time, I started going over all the sessions for the now investigations properly and properly looking into them and researching them. And what I found was the most weird and the most hard to take was not the paranormal stuff, not the strange stuff, not the stuff about the geopolitics or anything like that. It was the personal stuff. It was the stuff that related to me and the different experiences I had gone through in life, and knowing that it was real what I was experiencing with my brother, and he was there with me throughout these experiences, and a lot of them telling me what these experiences, why I went through them, giving me an understanding of why when I started things they would ultimately fail. Was to get me to a certain point. I was never supposed to be in one specific place. I was always meant to be moving. why certain people came into my life, and also he gave predictions about things that would happen, and that has continued to happen. Not all of them have come true. Not all of them came true in the way I thought they would come true, but they came true nonetheless, in different and very strange and very weird ways. And it is, when people talk about there being a awakening or a spiritual awakening, that is a painful process. It's a rebirthing process. I was explaining this to someone last night, and I think this is what we're seeing in 2020, just on a larger scale, is we are seeing an awakening process, because, and I believe from the research I've been looking into it, I believe there is a spiritual aspect to it, yes, obviously, but I also believe there's a physical aspect to it, and I believe the physical aspect to it is the amount of information, like you have said, that we are accessing now. Back in the 90s, you turned on your 10 o'clock news, that was your source of information of what was going on in the world, or a book you bought from Waterstones, or a newspaper you bought from your newsagents, or what your friends were saying. That essentially was your data about what was going on in the world. Now you can get so much data of so many subjects, all of which are happening at once. They're all happening now. But not just that data, you're getting everyone's interpretations of that data, everyone's interpretations of those experiences, and everyone's conditionings, everyone's programming. And I think what's happened, it's created a situation where the amount of information provided by the technology has created an imbalance, and that imbalance is one of the things that we are having to deal with, and the reason we have to deal with that is because it's bringing to light all at once all the crap that's happening in the world. And I think for most people it's too much to deal with, and you've always said this, haven't you? It's too much. Does that make kind of sense?
There is definitely ignorance, and as it says in the Matrix, ignorance is bliss. And if you're blissfully aware of the evils of the world, they can't have an effect on you.
Yeah.
But because of social media and the way technology is working, it's in your face.
Yeah.
All the time. And people are getting misled by it and squiffed by it. And it is changing the world. It's not gonna change the world, it's changing the world.
Yeah.
And it will irrevocably change it forever.
Yeah.
I mean, kids now, back in the day, you didn't have so much to worry about. Like, if you did something crazy, you'd worry about a handful of people talking about it in school. Now, if you do something crazy, it's on for millions and millions of people to watch over and over and over again. So, for youngsters, because they're doing the TikTok, they're doing this, they're doing that, it's a different world. It's a different thing. It's, with the way they can talk to each other and everything else, it's a different animal. And as it's not just the paranormal thing, right? You look at the world, and I've always found it's very difficult to see the world other than the way I see it, right?
Well, you can't. That's your point of view. You can't. You can only surmise from someone else's point of view. You can't put your head. You can't take your eyes out your head and put them in someone else's.
No, I can't. Yeah, you can't. I can't look at the world as, say, people do, like this. The seeing just the media are taking exactly what the media is saying for face value, and that's the truth, and everything else is nonsense, right?
Yeah.
I can't put myself in that position. I've tried, right, for years. I've tried to think, am I just looking at this? Is it just because, you can feel gullible or something like that? That's what comes out when it comes to conspiracy and everything else.
Yeah.
Are you gullible? It's like the flat earth theory.
Yeah.
You only got to mention that, and it's become a joke now. It's become an absolute joke. But you don't see the process that somebody got to that point on the road they went down. We've talked about that.
Well,
it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same with the paranormal. It's the same things happening with the paranormal. You've got you've got all these people now doing things like Nuke's Top 5 and Dylan is Chilling and all these different sites and Sir Spooks, and they're putting ghost videos, ghost video after ghost video after ghost video, and it's starting to change the narrative.
Yeah.
And it's like the UFO, everybody's got a camera. Years ago, it was like, that happened over there, and and you've got a couple of people in the village who've told the news, and he said, yeah, and that's the story. It ends up in a book.
It's like that meme, isn't it? It's a UFO. Quick, grab the shittest camera we can find.
But now with technology, everybody can film on this, and there's so much of it, and I don't think anybody thought about that when this first happened. The Black Knight satellite, perfect example. It was leaked onto the internet by McKinnon, and it got put out there in such a way that it can never be taken off the internet.
Yeah,
it's there forever. It changed the narrative, and this is what this is supposed to do. But what it's looking like on YouTube at the moment, and a couple of other sites, is you can't talk about this subject, but you can talk about this one, which to me is worse, way worse, all day. Yeah. And not a thing happens to you. Right? You can't say, well, I think this is what's happening in the world, but you can put on YouTube kids wearing underwear or kids being talked about in a derogatory way. And that's fine. And then you want to look at like what, and then people are going, oh, I wonder what's wrong with the world.
That's the thing. Like, we've had people. A lot of our research has come from real people who have had real experiences with real paranormal things. Right, things moving in their house, seeing UFO. We've done alien abduction. And it always comes back down to that kind of basic human story. You take a poltergeist or a haunting. It always comes back down to something that's happening on a human level with that person in their home. Maybe someone they've lost and they're dealing with the grief of that situation, or there's some drama happening around them which needs resolution because it's causing a lot of problems. The amount of time that, and this is the thing, a lot of skeptics would argue, right? You have people who are dead, right? They've lost their lives, they've gone from the earth into the ether, whatever, right? If they are still here, if they are dead, why do they still care about if Tony and, I don't know, Martha are having marital difficulties, or Bob is having problems with his job? If there is a council of aliens that are looking over the earth, why are they contacting some random dude from the Rhondda and telling him about the evils of the earth? This is the thing. This is the thing, and I can completely understand that point of view. What is it about these people that they've gone, I tell you what, we're going to talk to them about this. And you will have, we've had it on the Now Investigations when we did those live stream experiments with the Ghost Box. 1 minute they're talking about the state of Catholicism and the reformation of the two churches, which happened back in 2017 or 2015, sorry, with regards to Bartholomew and the Pope. If you guys want to know more about that, watch UFOs on the Bible Code on this channel. It's and I'll link it in the description below. 1 minute talking about that, in the next breath they're talking about our website and how important it is to put our website up. And in the next minute they're talking about something completely different. It's really kind of like, why is it that they go to so much trouble? And I think that is the thing that a lot of people who are outside the paranormal don't really see and understand. And like for me personally, I think it's because the world of the afterlife and the world outside, the world within and the world without, have a relationship. There is a relationship between you living your life here and the you that exists in the afterlife. The you that came here before you born, and the you that's there before after you die, and those connected to you. But also, for me, I think it's not just people who come from Earth. I think we live many lifetimes, and not all of them happen on this place. Does that, that's what I would say, but that's my belief. There's no sort of evidence to sort of back up. Why would a council of beings that are supposed to be written of in the Bible, for goodness sake, want to talk to some dude from Ponty? Or some guy from Camp Park? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because, and this is the truth of it, right? Because, right, anybody, you've got so many people now that's doing like podcasts and YouTube, and especially you've got quite a few people on the internet and YouTube doing paranormal, right?
Yeah.
You've got Oh My Gosh and all them lot doing it, right?
Yeah.
And they're just going to do it as entertainment. People want to be entertained. They don't want the truth.
No.
Because the truth sometimes is shockingly shit. Right?
Yeah.
That's the truth. And they don't want it. It's like you look at Huff. He's all like, positivity, love people, we can do this. But the ghost box is saying this is the end of the world and we're going to face war. Like,
yeah.
But it's all about love.
Even to the point of saying,
right?
it's
common sense. If I mean, we all exist in this moment, right? Because you're watching this, you exist, right? And if somebody said to you, if you're cruel and horrible, then you put that on another existence. If you're good and you live your life with love, then you can never lose. It's a constant win-win, right? If you take because you seek pleasure and you're going to, put that on other people, right, which is non-consensual, then you're damned because you exist in a universe that shouldn't be. The fact that our life is so divine in its just every sense of the word. Everything from, just every aspect of life is by design. You can check the science set, and you can have the people saying this. The only way you will know that is by looking into your own eyes and being a conscious being. If you were a conscious human being right now, you are a miracle. It's a miracle. And it's just, you can go, oh, woe is me and this. And people get in that rut. But what we do with the paranormal, and I think this is where we struggle maybe, right, trying to get this message out, Jazz, is because we tell the truth.
Yeah.
Right? And you got your David Icke saying, the top of the pyramid, and this Rothschild's doing this, and that's out there. If you don't know that by now, if you haven't looked at that, then you're a sheeple. Right? If you haven't looked beyond the narrative of the media, then you genuinely are a sheeple, because that means you believe one side of a coin, right? Yeah. And it's all well and good saying that, but it doesn't offer any solutions. It doesn't change the world.
Yeah, exactly.
It's entertainment.
Yeah, of course it is.
And people just need, this is what the problem is, people need so badly to be entertained that they would rather be entertained than informed.
Yeah.
They would rather watch somebody get scared and go, oh, look at this, watch this now, and just catch up and watch it, than actually learn some truth about the world. Because unfortunately, and you can't, there's no way of changing it. Some of the truth in the world is neg.
And that's the thing, and this is, and to actually go and look for that truth and understand that truth, it's a constantly evolving process. It's like, you could look at, let's take Ike then, for example, and you could say, well, look at, for him, for where he is in the world and what he, whatever his purpose is in the world, that what he believes is the truth. But you can look at other sides to that coin. 90% I would say of people who watch David Icke believe in it because they believe in David Icke. It's not because of what he's saying, it's because of the person.
It's just because of the person, celebrity.
Yeah, it's that sort of value. Whereas you actually look at, let's say, for example, someone like Jordan Peterson and sort of what he's saying, which directly contradicts a lot of what David Icke says, but is also true. If you look at certain other sort of commentators, I'm trying to think of people off the top of my head now. Alright, if you look at sort of, let's say, more sort of religious or down the paranormal sort of route of things, my mind's gone completely blank. Like people like Michael Newton then, for example, right, who did, or Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon would be actually a good one. Again, it's a different side of it altogether, but it still has the potential to be true. It's the old, what I say to people, it's context. It's context is for kings. And yes, I believe what he says, and this is it has come back to the fact that we are in a control system. But is it a man-managed control system? Yes, it is, to a point. Is it all powerful, of which we can't escape from? Absolutely not. A lot of it comes from conditioning. A lot of it comes from psychology. A lot of it comes from the way in which we are given data to understand. It's like, for example, you look at the different ways that we measure things. We measure things by people's race, their ethnicity, their gender. We don't have ways of measuring on an individual basis. We will say, like, for example, there's only 10 women working in the stock market. We don't actually know how many women want to be stock traders. There might only be 5 women pilots. And so we're having the wrong conversations. And this is what I find happens with the paranormal and our journey with the paranormal. And when we advise people, it's normal to look at things the other way. It's like, is there life after death? Well, there's enough evidence to suggest that there may be life after death. We have millions of people who have had near-death experiences, of which we can't fully explain with science. We have lots of things, scientific papers now that have suggested there is more to consciousness than just the human body. Thousands of them, but no money to fund further research. We have, thousands upon thousands of hours of paranormal evidence which no one really understands. So it's the fact that we're asking the wrong questions.
I mean, Bigelow, right?
Who's
the biggest the Skinwalker Ranch, right?
Yeah, Robert Bigelow
did the biggest and most expensive paranormal investigation on the planet, and the evidence is all locked away in little boxes.
Yeah.
What do you need to know? Roswell, where's that? Locked away in a little box.
But
Rendlesham, locked away in a
there's
little box.
also a thing as well, but because of this mentality, this entertainment mentality, right? And I mean, we take the War of the Worlds example here, but is the world actually ready for that amount of information, that amount of disclosure? No, if you're going to allow, and this is the thing, right? And this is where, I mean, if you look at governments, right, and you look at the people we put in power. Brilliant example, Christina Maxwell, right? Who?
Bush, the Epstein's, is it Christina? Is that her name?
No, I can't. Jelena or something, I can't remember. Yeah, I cannot remember her name. It's a weird name.
Well,
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's accomplice. A judge took over a year, right, to put out an arrest warrant, and Donald Trump said, right, I'm going to sack you. And he actually said, you can't sack me. He didn't actually know the law, right? And Trump sacked him, put someone else in charge, within 2 days, she had an arrest warrant.
Well, look at the current leader of the Labour Party, but Keir Starmer, right, who was a judge advocate type person, one of those people who was given the Jimmy Savile case back in 2010, or like 2000, round about the sort of 2008 to 2010, and told him there's nothing to see here. And now he's effectively the leader of the opposition in the country, the most prolific paedophile in British history. Like,
why is Bill Gates, a software engineer, right, trying to dictate to us about our health? I have seen that man be interviewed more, right, since this COVID-19 outbreak.
than I've ever seen him interviewed.
Ever, right? And they're asking his medical opinion. A medical opinion. It's insane. The world is literally, it just feels like people have lost their marbles.
If you look at sort of things like Dolores Cannon's 3 Waves of Volunteers, or even the stuff we've getting back, this is what they'll say. They have told us that when this happens, because of these energy shifts, it's going to get to a critical mass, and that's what's going to happen. And I genuinely think that is what's happening. I am seeing people react in such a way at the moment that it's just weird. I can't understand it. I can't explain it. The fear. But one of the things that we did back in 2000 and... Oh, he's gone again. One of the things that we did back in 2016 was we did a series of events called the Voices from the Spirit World, where we would take the ghost box and several different paranormal investigation techniques and teach people how to use them. And we did this on several occasions. And I remember one event, which was the last one of them we did, we went a little too far. We were having these conversations with this young girl on the ghost box who had passed away several weeks prior. And that's what the event was raised in aid of. No, sorry. That happened on the first event. This is the second event where she came through. And the second event was like a follow-up because we did it just after her death. I think like in 2016, and this was 2017. And I remember seeing this woman, and she had like 100-yard stare after this experience of being in a room and having a message through the ghost box, and she just literally was not ready for it, and her world was broken. It had wedged something in her world before it was time, in a sense. That's the vibe I had off it, and that look that woman had on her face has haunted me ever since, right? And I have seen the same look in someone's eyes since, and that was last week. I was shopping in Lidl's. Myself and my partner were shopping in Lidl's, and she was waiting in the queue, or the socially destructive queue, of 2 meters away from the checkout. And I just literally walked past her in the trolley, and just by walking past her, I had like broken this woman's world, because she was so frightened of another human being walking past her. And it's the same now. You know, I've recently lost a loved one, a family member. So I wasn't particularly close to them, but I have his wife I have the deepest respect for, and probably was in part responsible for me going on this journey, because she used to take me to Spiritualist Church 15 years ago. And you know, that's brought it home to me about people again that I'm shielding, have shielding around me, and that's just one thing. That's just the one thing that's come out of this, the protection of vulnerable people. And as you said about Boris Johnson sort of blaming care homes after submitting people out of hospital into care homes, you know, I don't know whether there's something energetic that's happening here that's like forcing this shift, whether it's a case like an avalanche or a mudslide that has just literally got to that point, and now it's just literally all got to come down, a bit like the House of Cards. And I don't think it's just the House of Cards I don't think it's the House of Cards just in our society. I think it's in all of us too. It's genuinely.
I don't know, but because you look at Edward Heath and you look at all these people who have got away with stuff, and then it's all come out after they've died, right? And that's been happening a long time, right? So the people who are around doing it now just think, they probably just think, oh well, it can't be touched. I've got the police in my pocket. I've got this in my pocket. I've got judges in my pocket. I've got this, and but the problem is because it's like what's happened with Epstein. He's recorded. I don't care what you say. He had cameras on that island, right? And he recorded everything. He was a really intelligent guy. Sick as they come, but smart, unfortunately,
Yeah.
because they usually are. And I tell you now, and this is what's happened. They've got away with things. This is what happens when you get away with things for so long, like Savile did. You get away with them for so long, you just don't care. You just become. You feel like you can just do anything, and you think like the darkness, that voice, that dark voice, that randomly throws stuff out, right? And if you act on that, and that's what it is. That's why the world is shifting now, because they've got to a point where they just, if you want, nature will make you want more and more and more and more. And they don't understand people, spiritual people, who are just happy and content with not causing anyone else harm to have the life they have. That's a messed up concept in this world, I think, but I think I genuinely believe it. In this world right now, that concept of being content and happy and knowing that what you've got hasn't caused anyone else harm, you haven't had to step up over anyone, you haven't had to do any of that, is enough. It's perfect. It's exactly what I want from my life. Yeah. And people can't get their heads. It's not computed because it's not taught to you. It doesn't just like happen. It's not like flicking a switch. It's the way. It's a thought. It's just the way you choose to live your life. It's a choice. It's a choice. And this is what spirituality. This is what this journey. This is what we've led to, of telling people that they have that choice. It's always been there. You have a choice, whether you listen to that person, or you put that person in charge, or you act in that way, or you become this, or whatever you do is a choice. And the narrative that you're told you have no choice is never correct. And this is what the paranormal has been screaming. This is what all this is built up for. This is why we had them messages, to show people that this was coming. I believe that.
Yeah.
We've been saying this it's proof. We've got it on the channel from years ago. We've been saying, guys, if you don't stop all this nonsense, this is what's going to happen. These are the scenarios. Pick one, because they're all possible if we carry on. So, and this is what the paranormal is about. It's to show you, to make you, lift you. The paranormal is supposed to. That experience isn't supposed to scare the shit out of you. No. So you like run away from it.
It's supposed to make you fascinated and want to learn more.
Yeah, it's to make you gravitate towards it.
Yeah.
To go embrace it and go, why was I shown that?
Because in showing you these things, they teach you about yourself and who you really are.
And what our purpose is in this world, to exist. What the purpose is to exist.
Yeah.
You can either be an absolute arsehole, or you can do the best you can. That's your choice. It's 50-50. Choose it. But I know it's there, it's written in history. Do this. It's the simplest thing. It's like the Bible. It's so contradictory, it's ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the beauty in the messages in there are incredible, right? But it's got man's hand in it, right? But if you just take the simplest form of it, and you can boil it all down to just the simplest thing, which is, if you're good, and you're all good, you'll all have a good life. You'll all have a happy, healthy, wonderful life. If you're all arseholes, you're going to have a crap life.
Yeah.
And if it's 50-50, the arseholes are not going to be happy about the good people. And the good people eventually will get fed up with the arseholes. And you'll end up with a big bunch of arseholes. So just stop it. That's the simplest, that is taking the universal message of God in its simplest form and that is it. That's all you need to know.
Don't be a prick.
Yeah, stop it. Just stop it. If you're going to be selfish, you're going to attract that kind of life. If you're going to do this, and it's just, this is what people do. Like they like, you have a bad experience, so you poo on that experience forever, right? You see it all the time, right? They just constantly nag on that experience. They don't look at it that somebody else might have had the most unbelievable positive experience from that, right?
Yeah.
From like a belief, right? And then you get the other people in, because they didn't have that positive experience from that belief, they got a nag on them. And it's just, I've tried to say, well,
it's
I
kind
know
of
I
belief
did a
in,
video.
it's that belief in uniformity, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just, if you're happy, shut up. Just carry on. Just get on with it. You don't
have to be like everyone else. You have your own journey.
You know, I do watch some programs because I like Love Island and all these crap and nonsense, right? Even though I do the paranormal and I'm always looking at something or other, right? It only has to like catch my eye and I'm on it. But then I like the real world as well. I like the psychology of people, right? I'm a people watcher and I'm a people person. And you can learn so much about from some of these shows, like the Housewives, right? Because they do all of it, the Housewives, right? They do like the Housewives of Beverly Hills, the Housewives in New York, blah, 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 blah. And the psychology of them and the material world they live in, and they are all as miserable as sin, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, they've got more money than you. I mean, this one girl, she's a persona. She has a character, right? And it cost her £50,000 a month to be a persona. £50,000 a month, right? Now, I don't know about
That's
you.
That's more money I'd see in 2 years, but
that was 3 for me when I was working, right?
It's about right. Yeah, actually, it's about right. Yes, about right. That's about right for me. Yeah.
3 years, 1 month, right? And she was just, and she had no different ways to everybody else in the world. And that's what it just boils down to. It just boils down to that simple fact that if we cared a little bit more about each other and how we are as how our life is, because it's that precious, the world changed tomorrow, like. But and that's what I believe that's what this journey is that we've been on for 7 years, is trying to teach us. Everything, all the negativity with that curse and everything else we went through, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What a lesson.
Yeah.
Right? That even when you take on somebody else's pain, there's consequences, right? But it's what you do with them consequences. You can either blame the world, and say it's all your fault, or you can say, maybe that was something I needed.
I firmly believe it was something I needed to go through with regards to the upheaval that happened around me. There was so much that I was holding on to, and the valuable lesson I learned from that year was if you, it's what my brother calls principle love, right? If you love in principle, so in a sense, if you just put your love where it needs to be and let go of the fears of it, right? And to say it and actually go through it are two different things, right? Because to say it sounds like nothing. To actually go through it, it sounds... there are no words for it, right? It's when you actually go where the fear is and you finally let go of all the fears that you have about not being loved. You understand that love, if it's genuine, will always come back to you. If it's not genuine, it was not worth having in the first place. And that's what I learned from that experience. Is that love can only love. And anything you put on top of that is down to you. It's down to you and your preconceptions and your beliefs and your expectations. And if you love something for what it is, or someone for who they are, not what you want them to be, and that means that you risk losing that person. That means you risk losing yourself, because ultimately you always are going to lose. At some point, if you're married for 40 years, right, one of you is going to die before the other. That's the probability. It's going to happen at some point in your life. Every family member you're going to lose at some point, and they are going to lose you. And what you start to understand from that is what the connection with Jonathan that came in with that was. What that taught me is, it's like Shakespeare said, the world's a stage, and you're always connected to those people. So physically you might think you've lost because you're constantly holding on to that person or that situation, because you're treating it like a physical thing, a possession, something I own. When you realize that you don't own it, it becomes transitory, it becomes translucent, it becomes malleable. And what you're doing is you open up to all the expectations. Once you let go of the fear of not being loved, which is what was controlling me for so many years, that fear of losing, understand it's going to happen to you at some point, and be okay with that. Because what you understand through that is, it's not a loss, it's a transition. The transition I had from the physical connection I had with my brother for 20 years of my life, and the 20 years now where I've had a spiritual connection, doesn't make that person any less my brother. Doesn't make that relationship any less potent, any less caring, any less loving, any less fulfilling. It's just the dynamics of that relationship changes. You see it with relationships that people are in, when they, lovers or romantic relationships, right? You see it in that, where people hold on to a person as they were X number of years ago, or a situation as this is how it should be because this is how I understand it from Hollywood movies, or what I've been told from friends, or this X, Y, whatever sort of preconditions and precursors we've built up over the years. No, every relationship evolves constantly, because as you grow, other people grow. As other people grow, you grow. It's part of the connection that you have with them. That love is always there. And as we have been shown so many times, that there is something after death, there is a remnant of a person after death, then that person is going to take with them all the memories, all the feelings, all the love they have for you. And don't you think that they are going to, just through going through that transition, they're going to love you less? Actually, they love you more, because that's what they're trying, and that's what everything on this journey has come back to, that 4-letter word. And for so long it pissed me off, because I was looking at it in the sense of romance novels, as in romantic films, love songs, all that's illusory. I'm not saying it doesn't have its place. I'm not saying that you can't have that experience. But love, in its truest sense, is a deeper experience. And it starts from the one person that we generally tend to love the least. And that is ourselves. Because that's what that taught me. When you let go of those fears, you start to understand that it's okay to love yourself. It's not vain. You don't have to go in the mirror and go, oh, look at me, I'm awesome, I am, It just means
So me,
that... Yeah, you've always been a vain prick, but
like
the beach is over there, like. Where's the beach? It's over there.
Oh Christ! Sorry, I had to check that in.
No, but you're true. But it's right. I mean, it's like things like humor always break a bad vibe. This is what we're because of this fear of loss now. We're completely destroying the relationships between humanity that we have. If those 200 letters are right, and this is airborne, and it is going to hit a lot bigger and nastier in the coming months, which is a possibility, we haven't completely ruled that out, right? All these social distancing measures could be completely meaningless.
Well, I mean, to me, they're meaningless anyway, to me, right? And I tell you why, right? Because you get people who hurt other people because they believe a book told them to, right? And you get people that hurt other people through negligence and greed, right? And that's fact, right? You get people that send other people to war, right? And war is absolutely bonkers, right? The concept of that. And I think if people started, you get feminists, right? You get bigots, you get racists. If you look at any reason why you hold on to anything like that, and you think, why am I this? Why do I feel like this? Why would somebody tell me to feel hate?
Yeah.
Right? Towards another living thing, because that's all it boils down to.
Yes.
Somebody is telling you to hate.
Yeah.
Right? Hate the system, hate the person, hate the reason.
Yeah.
You can look at that and ask yourself how you got there, why you're there, and what's next. Right? And the world will start to just like, little bricks will fall down. Right? And you'll see that there's so much more to that narrative.
Yes,
and
then you're being told.
And the real reason that you might feel that way is absolute balmy nonsense, right? Balmy nonsense, right? If somebody of race beat you up and you waited all that race for that one person's actions, it's balmy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's the same if you joined a church and they treated you terribly. To hate every church is balmy.
And the reverse.
That's what we keep doing.
The reverse works because a lot of stuff has been coming up about this toxic masculinity and all this sort of stuff up, right? And it's a bit like what Keith said last week on this show, right? We do need more of a feminine influence in the world. That's fact. Absolute fact, right? But you're seeing a lot of the way that these groups are acting, and I'm thinking, okay, I can understand, but it's always got to come back down to the individual. And I've always seen men and women as equally, but I've always had a lot of the strong leaders in my life have been women. One of the greatest inspirations in my life, I would say, was my grandmother, who had her own business. Running several businesses on her own, a pub and a shop on her own when she was 40, and bringing up kids, lived through a bloody war. And I was talking to her the other day, and she was saying, she's seen everything from the Second World War to COVID-19, and everything in between, And yeah, she's definitely been a role model in my life, and probably one of the strongest women I know. I
don't know. I've always put as much as I got good boys in my life, right, I've always put women in more high regard than men, right? And it's not that they're not without their faults, and they're not squeaky clean, right? It's not, right? Because
Well,
it's the way of nature.
you just look at the two women we've had as prime ministers, but they've been abhorrent, the pair of them.
Well, yeah, case in point.
Yeah.
But just as a rule, we're all.
That doesn't necessarily mean
flawed.
that doesn't necessarily mean you can't have a good woman leader. Look at the Prime Minister of New Zealand. It's just the fact that UK, unfortunately, at those times, appointed ones that were, well,
perfect example. That was Jazzy. Absolutely nailed that example. But you did then with the Prime Minister of New Zealand.
Yeah.
Absolute legend.
Absolute brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
She's made everybody else in the world look ridiculous as a leader.
Yeah.
So, but I think, yeah, they care. That's the reason we need a bit more of that in the world, because they care more. Genuinely care, as a rule, about the feelings of others, right? You do get, don't get me wrong, that's what I'm saying. You do get a lot of women who are quite self-absorbed. Not as much as blokes. That's in my world, right? That's in my world. I've worked with over like 650, I mean, probably up near 1,000 over my lifetime. Yeah. I've worked with unknown boys, right? And boys are genuinely self-absorbed, right? As a rule, they're self-absorbed. And they're more caregivers. So yeah, we need that energy. We need that energy more in the world. And maybe they need to stand up to it more, right? Because if you were looking, you imagine these riots now, and I'm being genuinely honest now, right?
Yeah, like absolutely.
The race for life, right? They do the cancer thing, and the girls get together, right? You imagine you've got, say, a crowd of 1,000 people, right, heading at the police, and they're all blokes. And you've seen the videos lately of the police backing down, right? They've been backing down. They've been actually walking away. You imagine that was just women protesting properly. You imagine how intimidating that would be, right? And you imagine if they went at them women like they've been going at the male protesters. And I know there's been women in the crowd, but they can get lost in a crowd, right? A crowd is a crowd. But if that's gender specific, that's a big thing. Just in the psychological aspect of that, that's a big deal. Mm. And if that happened globally, that's a big deal. The psychological aspect of that is a big deal. That's a big event. That's going to change some stuff, right? Because men can't do it. They just want to smash it and just look hard, right? Like they just do. They're not interested. They've just seen something, and like we see Luke does, they've seen something they'll never be able to afford. They go in through the window to claim it, right?
Yeah.
Where women will actually stand there and go, no, this is what's happening. This is what we need. This is what we want. This is what we'll have. Right? They're a bit more thoughtful. They put a bit more thought into things like that. Yeah. So, yeah, what he's saying is correct. We need more feminine energy in the world. We need a lot more men to think about other people. That's correct. That's not like spiritual. That's psychological. Yeah. That's common sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's so much we can change, and it all starts with you and a thought.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You people just get into groupthink, and that happens a lot. Oh. Where people get into, I support Black Lives Matter. Well, do you support the party or the movement? So do you toe the line, or you literally just, if people started thinking, and that's what needs to happen, and this is the main message we've had through the paranormal, is that we need to start thinking for ourselves. Rich, I think we're running a bit out of time now, my friend. So any sort of final thoughts that you wanted to add for this evening?
Yeah, I want people to just think about this, right? And because this could come up a lot. You've got Little Britain's been taken down for doing blackface, right? I'm sorry, League of Gentlemen did blackface. Little Britain did sketches where they portrayed black people. You've had Keith Lemon on crying on telly apologising for like Bo Selector. He did and stuff like that, right? And they've been taking him off Netflix and places, right? But then you've got Eddie Murphy, right? Has done more white people than they've ever seen, and he does them brilliantly. You've got white chicks. You've got the opposite end of that spectrum, right? And if you can't see that there's a problem with that, and it's done by design, then you're looking in the wrong place. You either got your eyes shut, or you're not looking at the real world, because that's what's happening right now. It's taken to the extreme. It's going to go to it's gone so to the extreme. It's going to tip the problem the other way, and people really need to start sharing, talking, and having that discussion. And that's that.
Well, thank you very much for watching tonight, guys. Let's check the chat very quickly. Have we had much activity on there this evening? Just have a quick look on the old phonometron. We've had quite a bit of a chat. Thank you to Gina for some of your comments. I can't actually read this chat thingy, so I will take a look, and let you guys know. Rich, can you see anything? Because I can't read it.
No, I can't get the YouTube up. I'm trying to get the YouTube up, but my phone, if I'm not constantly tapping my phone, it just goes off. Oh no, can't come back.
Hello to Andrew Dexter. Hello to Gina. Hello to Coag Music. Brilliant, and keep up the good work. Thank you, Coag Music. I've been watching us. It's a brilliant channel. If any of you guys watching, go check out Coag Music. Their music is absolutely amazing. It is. I'm actually it's one of the channels I do follow. I love his music. I think it's brilliant. I do. We've actually and the fact he does it and allows people to use it for free as well. A big shout out to Coag Music. They are absolutely brilliant. They are. Well, thank you very much, guys, for watching this evening. We are going to be we're having a chat about maybe doing a little bit of a soft reboot on the channel. We haven't talked fully about it yet, and maybe going through some of the more basic concepts of the paranormal that we haven't covered yet, and maybe giving a bit of an introduction to some of the things for some of the newer guys amongst you that haven't been following us over the years. So if you think that's a good idea, let us know in the comment section below. I've been Jared Walters.
I've been Richard Oliver.
And take care of yourselves, everyone.
Love and light, para peeps. Love and light.
What are you doing?